the sound of 9,000 RPMs was just jaw-dropping.
A year ago, Roy finally pulled the trigger on his automotive dream, this 2016 Porsche GT3 RS with 500 naturally aspirated horsepower, track-focused suspension, and $175,000 US dollar price tag when it was new. Today we're riding along with Roy while he shares with us what no one tells you about actually owning your dream car, the real ownership experience, the unexpected cost, and whether achieving your automotive bucket list actually lives up to the hype.
All right, Roy, so what were some truly memorable cars you've had before this amazing GT3 RS?
I don't know about amazing cars, but the most memorable one was probably my very first car. It was a VW. It was a 1968 VW Bug. It was white on the outside with patches of rust. It had a flat interior. The heater didn't work, so I needed a scraper for inside the car in the winter. And the starter didn't work. So anytime I took the car out, I'd have to park it on top of a hill just to get it started. After that, I've gone into BMWs. The 80s, 90s, and the 2010s. And then came my first Porsche, which was a 997.
So that Porsche gave you an introduction to the brand?
Yeah, it did. I basically drove it around the city and the B roads. And one day I ran into a gentleman, an older gentleman, and he was on his way to the track. And he didn't really have athletic physique that you would think somebody going to a track would have. So I had to ask him what kind of track he was going to. And he mentioned that he owned a Porsche, the way I did, and that he belonged to the PCA, and he would track his car with them on a regular basis. And that just piqued my interest. Then that evening, I went online and registered for my first track experience day with PCA. And on the track that day, a car similar to this one just flew right by me at full throttle, and the sound of 9,000 RPMs was just jaw-dropping. I don't know what else I could say, it was just jaw-dropping. And I knew that I had to have this engine.
This car became your bucket list.
It became my bucket list. The GT cars never really intrigued me, or I never really understood them until that one day that I heard the engine roar. And it all started making sense to me. And it was on my bucket list from that point on. It took me about 2.5 years of savings, searching, hunting, finding the car that fit my budget. And finally it happened.
It's 2016 GT3 RS. Why was it the one?
I knew the previous owner. I knew how he took care of it. These cars are not cheap. So if you got one that had mechanical issues, it'd be pretty scary financially to get it fixed. The color was under the radar, I thought. Basically, I wanted a car that didn't stand out too much on the road.
Right.
But I think the big wing at the back kind of gives up the game.
It's hard to blend in with that big wing, isn't it?
Yes.
When you made the decision that this was the car, what was the process that you had to go through to actually acquire the car?
Well, first it was financial.
Yeah. Did you trade in your 997?
I did trade in my 997. I got fair market value for it, which was nice. So financially, I had to make sure everything was okay. The insurance, it was more expensive, but it was manageable, so that was okay as well. And then the hardest part, I think, was convincing my wife that I needed a car this fast. So I used a lot of facts and persuasion to convince her, and she finally gave me the green light to go ahead and buy it. It worked.
So did you end up test driving this car before you bought it, or was it more like a leap of faith?
It was more of a leap of faith. I bought it through a dealership. So, buying these cars through a Porsche dealership, you know what you're getting. It's going to be bulletproof, and it's going to be, any issues are going to be ironed out before they sell you the car. So I was confident in just buying it. And to be honest with you, driving a car like this for a few miles around the block wouldn't really give you the full experience or really let you know what the car is all about. So
Yeah, I can
it's
see
a leap of faith. The other fact is, if it wasn't the right car for me, I know I could turn around and sell it and get most of my money out of it.
I remember the first time I saw you with this car, I thought my eyes were deceiving me because I remember you from your 997 and suddenly I saw you getting into this GT3 RS. That was a big leap, going from a 997 to a 2016 GT3 RS. You skipped over the turbos and you skipped over the GT3s. Why did you go right to GT3 RS instead of going with a GT3?
The debate in my head really was between a GT3 991.2 and the GT3 RS 991.1. They pretty much have the same engine. But I know for myself, I'd probably, if I went with the GT3, I'd probably be wondering why, what I was missing with the RS.
991.1 GT3 versus the 991.1 GT3 RS. There is a difference of 30 horsepower.
Yes.
And was that a favorable factor in your mind too? Or you were just looking for the whole package?
I was looking more for the whole package, and the .1 had an issue with the engine that would just be in the back of my head constantly, and I'd be hesitant to push the car to what I would think its limits.
This car has massive rear tires. I mean, the fronts are pretty big, but the rears are massive. So do you notice that when you're driving the car? Like, do you notice the size of the tires, the contact patch, the grip?
On the road, not so much, but on the track, definitely 100%. The mechanical grip and the downforce that this car has on the track is just, it's magical.
And so this car also has Michelin Cup 2 tires.
Yes.
So any concerns about that with the wet or a little bit cooler temperatures?
I think if it's wet, I'd probably stay off the track.
You would.
I think I like the car too much to risk it on a wet track.
Again, comparing the GT3 to the GT3 RS, with the massive front splitter, the rear wing, all the aero that this car has, supposedly it creates 3 times the downforce of a GT3. Is that a concern, or is that a blessing, or do you notice that? Or
I've never compared a GT3 on the track, but this car here, you definitely feel the downforce and the mechanical grip the car has in the corners. It's just, physically, it feels like it shouldn't be happening.
When this car came out in 2016, it was the Porsche Supercar. Like, it was a supercar. It was in contention with Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Did you ever consider any of those as your bucket list car?
Yeah, as a kid that growing up being into cars, Ferraris and Lamborghinis were definitely on the bucket list. But I like working on the cars myself. Porsches are a little bit more forgiving in that department. And financially, they're a little bit easier to handle than a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. And like I said before, I wanted something that'd be on the road that's would stand out less.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's really happened with this car. Between the exhaust, the big wing, and the stance the car has, it just attracts attention anywhere I go.
So Roy, take us back to the time when you picked up the car, your first drive home, which actually was your first drive in this car because
Yes.
you hadn't test drove it.
Yes.
So take us back to what you were feeling that day.
Well, I remember very clearly, and I remember pulling into my driveway, my cheeks were hurting. And I was wondering, my facial cheeks, that is. And and I was wondering why, and it was probably because I was grinning all the way home. And it was just probably one of the happiest times.
Did it feel real?
It didn't feel real, and I really didn't notice any of the traffic on the way home.
But the next morning when you woke up?
It still felt unreal.
Yeah.
I had to go into the garage and take a look at it. I just sat there staring at it.
All right, a little bit later in this interview, we'll talk about the money side of the whole thing. Is that all right?
Sure.
So one of the big controversies of this car was that it was never offered with a manual transmission. Only Porsche's magnificent but automatic PDK. How do you feel about that? Because your last car, 997, was manual, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I never thought I'd buy a PDK car until I drove one.
Yeah.
The transmission is just it's another magical thing. It's on the track and sometimes on the road I actually use the paddles to change gears myself. So you still get some feel of control, but the transmission is amazing.
Of course, one of the big attractions of this car is that it's normally aspirated, no turbos. Was that an attraction to you, or again, were you just looking at the package?
Definitely, the naturally aspirated aspect is something that I really enjoy. The high revving car, like I mentioned before, when I heard the engine for the first time, revving at close to 9,000 RPMs, it was just jaw-dropping, and that's what really convinced me to go for a car like this.
About the difference between a GT3 and a GT3 RS, but when I started doing some research on it, I was shocked at all the lightning that's been taking place. The carbon fiber hood, the trunk lid is carbon fiber, the wing is carbon fiber, the two front fenders are carbon fiber, the doors are carbon fiber.
Yes.
That's a lot of lightning that's been taking place.
Yes.
Did you realize that before you bought it?
Yes, I did. They've also removed all the insulation, so you can hear the clutch changing, and the car almost sounds broken at times.
Yeah, that's right. Someone once said that if a Porsche GT car isn't making a lot of weird noises, there's something wrong.
It takes a little bit of getting used to, for sure.
The peculiarities I found about this car too was the magnesium roof. You know,
Yes.
I mean, magnesium, we all know, is a lighter metal. I certainly understand that. But I was surprised they didn't go with a carbon fiber roof.
Yeah, I guess if the car flips over, it'll create a lot of sparks.
A lot of sparks.
But I don't understand that. But it's a cool fact. When I show people the car, I say the roof is magnesium. They really don't. I don't get any response from them, but I think it's a cool fact.
One of the things I always liked about this era of GT3 RS was that externally, pretty much all of that carbon fiber, actually all of that carbon fiber is painted.
Yes.
It's not exposed. Whereas more recent versions, the 992.1 and .2, there's a lot of exposed carbon fiber. Which would you prefer?
I like cars that are under the radar and not that flashy, so I prefer it painted, basically.
Another way that Porsche chose to lighten this car was by, instead of having script on the back saying Porsche GT3 RS and having an actual hood badge, they're decals. What do you think of that choice of lighting?
Yeah, the rear sticker actually looks pretty nice. The front decal, like really Porsche, like you know, I think it's the only company that can give you less and charge you more. When my wife saw it, she was a bit disappointed with the hood decal, and I told her, well, it was for weight savings, and she just mentioned maybe just don't wear a belt when you go driving. But
so I know, Roy, you actually tracked this car, is that right?
yes,
So how did it feel bringing this car out on your first track day experience? You've got a GT3 RS with 150 more horsepower or something like that than your last car. It's now a PDK. It's super light, super aero. How did that first day go?
it was really nerve-wracking. The feel of the downforce and the mechanical grip, like I said before, just felt magical. Didn't feel possible. And the sound of the engine downshifting and upshifting was just like a rock concert in my ears.
Did you ever find yourself reaching for the gear lever to change gears?
To be honest with you, in the beginning, I was looking with my foot for the clutch. But I got that over that pretty quickly.
Any scary moments with the car?
There was one time I went into a corner a little bit too hot. The car had a moment of oversteer,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and I'm pretty sure my 90s reflexes kicked in, and I saved the car.
Excellent.
Or maybe it was the nannies in the car.
I'm sure it was your skill.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what I'm sticking with. For about 5 seconds there, I really felt like an F1 driver though.
Yeah.
I felt like a pro.
How much of this car's potential do you think you actually use?
Realistically, I would say approaching probably 70%. But to be honest with you, it's a lot of fun even just pushing the car to 70% of its potential. And I'm happy with that. I'm not going to be setting any track records. And I like the car too much to push it to the point where I might not be able to handle it.
Well, did this car teach you anything in terms of driving on the track that you hadn't learned before with the 997?
Well, just the respect for the laws of physics, because the car does have a lot of downforce and a lot of mechanical grip until it doesn't. And sometimes it's a bit too late. And so it's one of those things where you think I would say, wow, I'm a great driver. And then, wow, maybe I'm not that great.
Yeah. So what about rear wheel steering? When do you notice that?
Well, yeah, it's very noticeable on the streets, making tight turns.
Yeah.
Again, the wheelbase just gets shorter and the car just feels so much smaller. And then on the track, on the long, sweeping corners, you can feel the wheelbase just stretching, and it's just it doesn't feel real.
And do you think it feels like you have more grip?
Definitely more grip. Yeah, it gives you that confidence that to push the car just a little bit more.
We all know that driving on the track costs more, than just driving on the street, things like that. So this car compared to the 997, have you noticed a significant increase in the costs of running this car compared to the 997?
997, I did most of the work myself. I did my own brake work, my own oil changes. I did my tire rotations myself, so I could save a little bit there. With this car, it's a little bit more difficult to do the work yourself. Not impossible, but just a little bit more difficult. And so I've just incurred more of those costs.
As Porsche GT cars, you can tune the suspension quite a bit more. And so have you made any adjustments to the suspension to suit you?
The previous owner actually had the car lowered and had the suspension camber set up to be more track focused, which is fine for me. It looks amazing. The car stance is a bit lower, so it just looks awesome on the road. The other thing that he did, the previous owner, is he changed the exhaust to a Sharkworks.
Any feedback from anyone about your loud exhaust?
Yeah, there's people that love it and people that hate it.
Yeah. Anybody at home love it or hate it?
Nobody at home likes it.
Yeah.
The first track weekend that I had the car, I leave at about 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the track on time. And I like to warm up my cars for about 5 minutes.
Right.
I pulled it out of the garage. I let the car idle for probably 5 to 10 minutes. And I drove to the track, had a great time. I was excited about getting back home. And that evening, my wife and everybody in the house was pretty upset with me because they said the car made the whole house shake and it woke everybody up. And the neighbors complained about the noise. So I had a plan for the next track weekend. I figured, you know what, I can push the car out onto the street, push it down the street and let it warm up in front of somebody else's house.
That's true.
Somebody that I didn't know, obviously.
Yeah.
But the car is fairly heavy to be pushing myself, so I asked my wife if she can wake up at 5 o'clock and give me a hand with that.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Not well.
No.
It was a hard no way.
So this car's weight distribution is 38 front, 62 back, which is a lot of weight on the back. Have you noticed any difference? Do you notice that weight distribution, or because you're 997, you kind of got used to that whole aspect?
I do feel it. There is a bit of understeer in certain corners when I do go in a bit too hot. But again, the nannies probably kick in and just save me there.
When you run the car on track, do you select PDK Sport and firmer shocks?
I go with the firmer shocks, and I do PDK. I found that the car is more controllable, probably slower, but more controllable when I'm controlling the gear selection, going in and out of the corners. And it makes me feel more involved in the car.
What about pit speed? Do you use that button?
I haven't figured out how to use it.
That's right.
And it doesn't make sense to me, but...
So 500 horsepower on the racetrack. Was it what you imagined? Is there a reality check there?
You know, before getting to the track, 500 horsepower, I thought I'd be exiting the corners and looking really cool on track and it being a piece of cake. But the reality was my butt was stuck to the seat, my teeth were chattering, and my eyes were wide open. It was something I really didn't expect. So it took a little bit of getting used to.
100 horsepower. Do you think that's a must for track use?
Yeah, it's nice to have. Is it necessary 100%? Maybe not, because driving a lower horsepower on the track can be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. The momentum, right?
The momentum, yeah. Here you don't have to worry about momentum because once you exit the corner, you can just floor it and the car just takes off.
You think this car makes you a track Superman?
I would like to think I am, but in reality, it's the car that does most of the work here for sure.
Yeah. By the way, if you like this YouTube video, I certainly encourage you to subscribe. That way you can check out, we've got a lot of other Honest Owner reviews. Roy, are you a subscriber?
I am. I've been right from the beginning.
Great,
thank you. I've enjoyed every single video you've put out, and they're all informative and entertaining at the same time.
Great,
and thank you for inviting me onto the channel.
Oh no, I really appreciate you sharing your viewpoint and your experience with this magnificent car. That's for sure. Let's talk about money. Are you prepared to share with us what this dream actually cost you?
More than I want to talk about.
Okay. When new, this GT3 RS was $40,000 more than a GT3 in US dollars. Do you think that value was there?
For me, I think it was, just because peace of mind that I'm not going to be second guessing myself. Should I have gone with the GT3 RS instead of the GT3?
Yeah.
And these cars hold their values pretty well. In the past, at least.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the future is going to be, but I know that I can get most of my money out of this if I wanted to downgrade to a GT3.
Right now, if I check on Bring a Trailer, cars like this are selling for about $200,000 US dollars.
That sounds about right. You know, there's not much wiggle room when you go buy one of these cars. So if you really want one, you just have to pay the price that they're asking.
But one other thing I noticed that was interesting was compared to the GT3s, now the GT3 RSs, the used ones of this same era, are selling for about $70,000. So that difference grew from $40,000 when the car was new to $70,000 now.
You know, the newer 992s, GT3 RSs are selling for over $500,000. So I think if you want to get into a car like this, there's very little options except going into a 991.1 or .2 GT3 RS.
What's been your most expensive single surprise with owning this car?
It's probably been the insurance.
Yeah.
It's about $2,000 a year more than my 997.
That's a lot.
It's a lot considering that my 997 I would drive 12 months out of the year, and this pretty much is just at the track. So
it's in the year that you've owned this car, any times when you thought to yourself, man, maybe I shouldn't have done this?
It started when I signed. I signed for the car at the dealership. When they accepted my offer, I started second guessing my financial decision with this car.
Yeah.
But when I see the car, it starts to fade away. When I sit in the car, it fades even further. And then when I drive the car, it completely fades away. So expensive, yes. Worth it, 100%.
If you were to sell this car right now and you got $200,000 US dollars for it, what would you use that money for to replace it with another interesting car?
I really haven't given it much thought because I'm just enjoying this car so much. But what really got me into Porsches was in the mid-70s, the turbo 930, 911, in the mid-70s, the air-cooled cars. those were my first Porsches that I really dreamt about owning. So I might revisit that and go back to an air-cooled manual turbo car. Who knows? It'd be interesting to see if any of your viewers have any suggestions.
Yeah, that would be. We can certainly encourage them to comment on what they might suggest. So this is not your daily driver, right?
No.
What would it be like to drive this on a daily basis? Pros and cons.
Yeah, the lower suspension. I don't have a front end lift, so scraping the front end splitter every time I leave my underground parking, it's not a pleasant sound. And it's not a pleasant feeling. Getting in and out of these carbon fiber seats, it's not the easiest thing.
No?
One morning, going to the track, I forgot something in the house, and I was already strapped into the carbon fiber seats. And I thought, do I really need that? And I said, you know what? No. I just left. So the seats on the track are a must.
Yeah.
As a daily driver, they can be a bit of a pain.
How does your wife like this car?
She sat in it twice in a year.
How many times has she driven it?
Not interested. She's not interested.
So you weren't the original purchaser of this car.
No.
If you would have spec'd this car right from the beginning, knowing what you know now, how would you have spec'd it any differently?
The only thing that I might consider speccing is the front end axle lift.
Right.
The drawback to that, though, is any front end work would cost more. But if somebody's looking for a car like this and it didn't have it, I don't think it should be a deal breaker. I've scraped the front end quite a bit, like I said, getting in and out of my underground parking. And every time I do that, I go underneath the car to check, and it seems like it's standing up really well. So whatever material they're using is robust enough to withstand some of the scrapes.
Would you have stuck with the Alcantara steering wheel, or would you have gone with the smooth leather?
Yeah, I was concerned about the Alcantara steering wheel just because of the wear. But it's worn out a little bit where my thumbs stay, but it's
Right.
not that bad. But the trade-off of the grip and the soft feeling of it, it just makes the car feel a little bit more special.
Okay, what about carbon ceramic brakes?
Going back to, I like doing some of the work myself and rotating my own tires. I think having the carbon ceramic brakes would probably be a little bit intimidating to do my own tire swaps or rotation. So I think I'd go with the steel brakes.
You still get excited every time you start this thing up?
Every time I sit in it and start the engine, I get a little jolt of, wow, this is mine.
The most surprising thing about owning this car?
It's the attention I get when I'm driving, when I gas up or when I just park the car, the glances and the comments I get from strangers about the car.
So how do people react when you tell them that you own this car or show them you own this car? Non-Porsche people.
I don't think they really understand it.
They think a Porsche
see
is a Porsche is a Porsche.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Porsche people? How do they react when you show them that you own this car?
Well, people that know me, that own Porsches, are surprised that I'd go to the expense of buying a car like this.
Cars are quite finicky about what kind of oil you use. Has that been a concern?
No, I have an independent mechanic that I've been using for years who specializes in Porsches, and he's recommended liquid moly for me for this car. And I've used it in previous cars with good success, so I just stick with that.
What about other maintenance, things like spark plug changes or transmission oil changes?
I haven't had to do any of those things yet. The spark plugs on my other car, I like to work on them myself. This car, it's not as easy. Like the whole bumper has to come off and the wheels have to come off just to get to the spark plugs. So it's a little disappointing in that aspect.
Yeah,
But,
that's right. I think too, the air cleaner, even replacing the air cleaner, you have to take the back bumper off.
Yeah, the air cleaner, the filters were never changed on this car since it's new. Okay. And I thought I would tackle that.
Yeah.
And when I realized there was like maybe 36 screws that I had to remove and the bumper would have to come off and all of that, I just kind of gave up and I'll let the mechanic do that.
So far, have there been any difficulties getting parts? like consumables, filters, oil filters, anything like that?
I picked up the car just a year ago, and I've had no issues with getting parts or anything like that.
What about the high cost of like replacing a door panel or a fender or something like that? Does that intimidate you at all? Or the wing, does that intimidate you?
A way of coping with that, and I just don't think about it.
There you go.
The
Gary,
wing,
why did you bring it up?
yes, the wing is the replacement cost. I saw the replacement cost for the wing. It's about $15,000.
Wow.
If anything, God forbid, would happen to the wing, I think I'd just leave it off and call the car GT3 Touring.
What about the seats? So in your 997, did it have power seats?
It had comfort seats. This has the carbon fiber, again, which is a must because of the downforce and the grip that this car has in the corners. If I had leather seats in here, I think I'd be all over the place.
So what about like if you go drive for a longer distance, do you find them uncomfortable? Hurt your back?
A lot of people online say they're just as comfortable. The truth is, for me, it's very uncomfortable. There's no lumbar support on these, and after about 2 hours of driving, at least I feel it.
So this car, stock is loud. It's louder than a 458 Ferrari. It's louder than a Hellcat. It's very loud. But your car has aftermarket exhaust, and it's loud. And you like that exhaust, don't you? And you like that sound, don't you?
I like the sound. I still have the original muffler, so I could swap it over at any time. And I've often thought of it, but then I give myself a shake and say, why would I do that?
Why would you do that?
I have a different solution for that, and it's in the ashtray here if you want to take a quick peek.
Yeah, let's have a look. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. Earplugs. Time this car was released in 2016, it was hailed as the most exciting 911 of all time. Can you appreciate that?
Absolutely. It's just again, the mechanical grip, the downforce the car offers, the acceleration with the 500 horsepower, the sound of the engine. It's the whole package. And for anybody who's a car enthusiast and wants to track a car, this has got to be the car to go with.
If someone approached you and said, Roy, I'm thinking about buying a GT3 or a GT3 RS, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I'd say make sure you know what you're getting into financially. Make sure you've got the funds. I wouldn't overstretch to get a car like this. And I'd say go for it. You know, I'd say join some forums, join the Porsche Club of America, get to know owners of these cars, go to Cars and Coffee. Anyone that owns one of these cars, or any Porsche for that matter of fact, always enjoys talking about the car and giving information about the car. And making sure that it financially fits your budget.
How would you describe the ideal owner for this car?
The RS, it definitely has to be somebody that's willing to take the car on the track.
Yeah.
Driving this car on the street, I would find difficult simply because the car wants to go fast. It doesn't sound right driving through the streets. It sounds broken. And if you push the car, at least if I push the car to even a fraction of its potential on the roads, I'd probably get into a lot of trouble. And I'm way too small to go to jail. So, so it definitely has to be somebody who wants to track the car.
And if someone was thinking about buying one of these cars, what options would you suggest? The things you already suggested, like a front axle lift.
I'm not sure if these cars come with other car seats other than the carbon fiber, but that's a must. The roll cage is important, just so you can strap onto the 5-point harness on the track. Again, it's something that helps you stay seated in the car.
So is living with this cage difficult?
You know, you can't get much back there, so
And the seats don't fold forward.
they don't fold
to
forward.
allow more access, right?
So on a road trip, this would be not the ideal car, to be honest with you.
Is achieving your automotive goal what you thought it would be?
It's actually more than I thought it would be. Yeah, driving the car on the track, hearing it, feeling the downforce, hearing the engine.
So often when people achieve something on their bucket list, they cross it off, and some people are done, and other people put something else on there. So is there another car on your bucket list right now?
930 Turbo is, you know, I really haven't given it much thought,
Right.
but I could see myself going back to the water-cooled car.
Yeah.
I think this is as hardcore that I want to go. Anything more than this, I think, would be over the top for me, at least.
Any final wisdom you'd like to share with someone else chasing their bucket list car?
I think it goes with any bucket list car. You've got to make peace with the imperfections in the car. You have to look at it as adding character to the car.
Yeah.
And my philosophy is always, it's better to drive a car that's a 7 out of 10 today and enjoy it than a car that's a 10 out of 10 that you might never find.
Now that you've lived with the GT3 RS, what would you tell someone that was debating whether they should get a GT3 or a GT3 RS?
GT3 RS is definitely for somebody that's willing to take the car onto the track. They're both fantastic cars, but the GT3 RS is a little bit more track focused. If you wanted a car that's maybe a little bit more usable, GT3 with comfort seats, a manual transmission would be a great road trip car.
Right.
The GT3 RS with carbon fiber, with PDK, is a must for the track.
Anything you particularly don't like about this car?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is the front badge being a sticker. Come on,
Instead
Porsche.
of a real badge.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really? It's the only company that can charge you more and give you less.
That's true. That's true.
The second thing that probably bothers me the most is not being able to get to the engine without removing the back bumper.
Yeah.
It's got about 30 screws that I've got to remove, and it's just not worth it. And I think one of the biggest things that bother me, and it's with a lot of modern cars, is the lack of the dipstick.
I know.
Come on, Porsche, bring back the dipstick.
That's right. Save the dipsticks.
Save the dipstick.
It seems to me the 2016 Porsche GT3 is like having this premium Seki Maguraku stainless steel chef's knife. It's incredibly sharp, reliable, and will handle everything you throw at it with zero fuss. But Roy's GT3 RS is more like having this hand-forged Hoshihanu carbon steel Gyoto. Its surgical precision exceeds the Seki, but you better be prepared for its higher cost, extra maintenance, and extra care while using it. And honestly, you better be skilled enough to appreciate the difference. Click here for your next Honest Owner review video, my bucket list car, my Porsche 718 Spyder, and I'll see you there.